Did.
We
How
are.
long
We
are
are
we
now
talking?
connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are.
About an hour.
Okay,
We've got in this time about an hour.
great.
But Mara and Angie, you have just now discovered each other and you've become LinkedIn, which that's my only social media besides listening to some conversations on Clubhouse on my phone
Yeah.
and occasionally being invited up onto the stage. And I try to say something that sounds intelligent, but nobody can see me. They don't know what I'm doing. They don't know that I'm grabbing the cat or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
But that happened even last week, is that I had women on the screen for International Women's Day,
Yes.
and they were around the planet, and I was so grateful. And then one of them goes, "Kitty." I go, "Oh, the international language. Put your kitty
Oh my God.
camera."
That will likely happen on my screen as well. I don't see him right now, but I'm sure he likes the spotlight. So we'll see. I'm excited to learn about Mara. Can you tell me, since we didn't, stalk each other on Facebook or anything, can you tell me, I guess, on the audience about you and what you
Yes. So first of all, Christine, thank you so much for having myself and Angie. You know, I think anytime I am able to, you know, have a platform to share the Trellaware story, to share our journey, and really, I think I'm quite relatable to a really broad-based audience, because prior to founding Trellaware, I knew absolutely nothing about the aging community, about emergency alert devices, about this whole wide world ecosphere on positive aging, on how there were such a lack of I would say support for women aging and aging the way they want to age. And my personal story was, I had a beautiful fashionista mom, and she unfortunately became a little more housebound. And my dad wanted her to wear one of those emergency alert devices. And he said to me, "Mara, do you know anything about it?" And I said, "Dad, I know absolutely nothing." And he said, "Well, I'm going to buy a few different types, and you're going to have to go and sell your mom on wearing one." And I was like, so naive. I said, "Sure," you know, didn't even think twice. Went to their house, opened up these 5 boxes, out come these ugly white plastic generic things. I look at my beautiful mom and I said, "Mom, Dad really wants you to wear one of these things." And she's like, "Absolutely not, never. You know, it's plastic, it's white, it's everything I hate." And she just instinctively looked at me and said, "Mara, you know, you've been in the jewelry business over 25 years. Can't you make me something beautiful to wear in case of an emergency?" And I was like, "Sure, Mom," like having no idea what I was doing. And you know, it was really interesting because I've been a corporate retailer. I've been blessed to have a wonderful, you know, very successful career in retail wholesale of jewelry, watches, accessories, mostly in the designer contemporary field. And I started my career as a buyer for Saks Fifth Avenue for several years. And I was not an entrepreneurial girl. I was really a corporate girl, and called an old friend of mine, said, you know, "This is my mom's idea." He said, "You know, the CES show is coming up. Why don't we go?" So I went to the CES show, walked around, saw there was an overproliferation of products for men, mostly watches, mostly activity trackers, but there was actually nothing for women. And I saw at the CES show, there was a company named Mobile Help, and it said emergency alert. Walked over to them, introduced myself, shared what I was thinking of doing. They showed me something that they were doing, which was slightly better. And I said to them, not to be rude or disrespectful, but if this is the best you can do, I know I can do better. So they said, "Prove it." So I did, and hired one of my jewelry designers who'd worked for me for years, reached out to an overseas manufacturer in the jewelry world who had worked with me for many, many, many years. And we put together a collection of 18 SKUs. And I went back to the CEO of Mobile Health and all C-level management, made a presentation, and they said, wow, we love the product, which I will share, but we don't trust your tech. And I said, fair, I don't trust my tech. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
you know, first pivot in your business. They introduced me to the largest tech provider in emergency response, the one who actually makes all those white plastic devices.
Cool.
And they've been my tech partner for over 3 years now. And, you know, we came out with our first iteration, and you know, look, I was just learning the market, and Christine kind of banking, you know, tagging on to what you shared. You know, everybody picks their own social media platform that's going to make the most sense for their business. You know, I chose Instagram because I thought, you know, we had a lot of video content, you know, etc. Turned out actually not to be Instagram. Not that I'm not on Instagram, and I personally love Instagram, but you know, it's not where I have found my biggest following. Actually, yeah, you know, it's been other platforms. So, you know, I think, again, my story is relatable because I knew nothing. Over the last 4 years since launching now a Bluetooth Trellaware device, which is really beautiful and looks, you know, again, like just a fine piece of jewelry. You know, our tech is great. Our product is beautiful. And I think we are serving, you know, a market that is just beginning to come into the, you know, forefront, in that, you know, baby boomers, as we all know, 10,000 are turning 65 a day. They're going to demand safety with style, and that's what we're offering.
So you're saying that telephones don't have to be black.
You know what?
You know, it was like you get a telephone, it is black. And that was, for anyone watching, there was a time where no one questioned that this is, you know, if you want this piece of technology, this is what it looks like. It doesn't come in any other styles or whatever. And then, you know, they discovered maybe 3 more colors: avocado green and burnt orange, you know, and then, you know, it goes from there. And so your mom invented this, and you took it, ran with it, stopped, listened. You were willing to say, yes, the tech is not where I'm an expert, and working together with someone else. But best thing that you and I agree with is that people go, I'm not ready to age. No one taught this. There isn't you know, there isn't a television station that I go to learn a little more about aging, because I care maybe even just about my neighbor. You know, how can I better relate to them or encourage them, you know, or, you know, learn not to talk condescendingly to someone just because I interpret their outward appearance as done and sitting in a recliner. You know, I just that's not there. And that's kind of why you ladies are here today, is that I'm going, but it's a normal part of life when you're in the industry, which I was told you would make a great caregiver. I'm like, I don't know anything about caregiving, but I was taught, and then I was enthusiastic about these people. My best friends were 96 years old. And I just thought, they are aging well. I'm seeing so many times that these families, because I was always put into private homes, these families are dealing with things so well. And then I would also hear things that people say, but they say it very quietly. Who's going to do this for me when I'm in their category? Now, this is not new information for you, Angie. You've been around people who turned a corner in their life, and needs changed or needs needed to be addressed. So, Mara, you started off so well, just saying how this all happened. How about you, Angie?
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Mara. It's Mara, right? Not Mara.
Yes,
It's Mara.
yes.
Can I just go back to her just for 1 second?
Oh,
And I'll
yes,
share
please.
share my thing here. I just think it's really cool. I love that, Christine, you mentioned it too. Just that, it was just an idea and then something that you hadn't thought about. So I'm inside having these just very pleasant ahas that, and feels good to know that there's someone like yourself, Mara, that is creating something beautiful. Because we can talk about this later afterwards maybe, but as a woman aging, that's a whole thing. That's a
Oh,
whole thing to go through these different stages as a woman to now, where is your value? Your kids are leaving, and you're starting to look different, and how do I do that gracefully, and all the things, right, which we get. But they're important to talk about. But this extra thing that is not only important for your mom's safety and my safety, eventually my mom's safety. I'm
yes,
excited to
yes.
learn about this because my own mother's safety, who's beautiful, and she's not a fashionista, but she tries. But I just think it's very thoughtful. There's a huge market for it. I think it's stuff that we would want, right? We're not done being beautiful. We're not done being valued, or we feel like we are valued, and we know we have things to offer. And I just think that's great. So without going on and on, I love it. I love
Mhm.
it. I love
Thank
it.
you.
Something that nobody thought of, and how cool for you to, what a cool experience for you to,
Yeah,
act
definitely.
on that and partner, like Christine was saying, and make it actually happen. Like my mom would be so excited to wear something beautiful that's also keeping her safe. It's a real drag to have to feel like you need something, but it's
Mhm.
ugly, and now everybody's gonna know that I need this device, and how cool is
Exactly.
that? Anyway, thank you for that. That's super cool.
Yeah.
So I have a nursing background myself, and I did work in skilled and senior living for a long time, and then left that for 18 years, and for lots of reasons that brought me back to doing what I'm doing now. But homeschooled our 7 kids, and always knew I wanted to be in prevention education. And so I dabbled in that and did that for several years while I was kind of home and not working full time in that, but then connected with a company that was amazing, that used me as their nurse expert. So I had opportunity to be on the Dr. Oz show and do a couple segments with him about, the future of nursing. And that's really what brought me back to what I'm doing now, is the need that there is to support nurses who are taking care of our most vulnerable people. And, they're our parents, they're our people that we love, and eventually they'll be us. So, if they're not cared for, and they're not feeling supported and loved and able to work in an environment that feels safe and they feel valued, then they're not going to show up
Mhm.
100% and be able to give the ones we love the care that they need. And they want to. These nurses and nurse leaders, they have, I've done hundreds of interviews, and they're very kind, and I feel so honored that they will share with me, intimately and transparently and authentically. And sometimes that can get pretty dark, right? For these nurses that are feel so lonely and like nobody's hearing them. But always, always, always at the end of the interview, I had one nurse that didn't do this, and she sticks out in my mind. But the rest
Yeah.
of them always at the end ended on a positive note, to be very, very hopeful and willing to do what they had to do. They weren't ready to give up. So anyway, I feel very honored that through my business as Angie Gray Wellness, but my program is high performance nursing. And so I'm able to go into these organizations and work with their nurse leadership and their nurses to change that culture. It's really a
Mhm.
transformation. And that really also takes some very forward thinking CEOs and COOs. The executives have to be pretty special. We're definitely in a shift. I think, like Mara said, when we're shifting to pay attention to women and aging women, we're also shifting in my space of recognizing the skills that I teach are not just something to just sort of do on the side. These communication relationship skills are incredibly important for the success of your organization. They're not just a fluffy thing, they're actually a strategy to stay afloat. So I get to do both things. So I've been very honored to do what I do, and they're amazing human beings. So that's a little.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. Hello to Victoria. She was on last week. And before that, she has just really been my faithful cheerleader to show up and to talk about her own endeavors and making changes. I mean, even just this moment, she has put a number on the screen. And not too long ago, it was really much more the you hid things. I remember almost apologizing for being one of the oldest moms at my kids' schools. And always feeling like, oh, I don't fit in with all these that are about average of 10 or 15 years younger, feeling like I can't talk about that I turned 63, that you should hide some things, and some things have been hidden for a while. And Angie, you started pulling it out before shutdowns and worldwide disasters thing brought it into minds that have never thought about it before. You started addressing that it's a tough, lonely world when you are frontlining with people who are vulnerable, with families that come in and they're stressed out. It's not it's not the best moment when you feel like, why are they suffering? Why aren't you doing something about this? And there's someone on a 12-hour shift who's hearing, why haven't you fixed them yet? And also to be with someone, I mean, you started that before the things were so closed down, which made it even more, what do they call it? Foxholes in the
Yeah.
trenches, and you started that. But what I'm wondering is, do you find yourself, I don't know if you want to share this, but do you find yourself training the CEOs and the COOs to have a different perspective on their staff? Does that come into play?
Yeah, I love that you brought that up. Thanks for asking. That's sort of a huge part of my messaging, is to think different. When we think differently, our perspective changes, and then the outcome changes. That's the miracle. I feel like that is the miracle. If we can choose to think differently, then everything changes.
Yes.
So it really, I think there are CEOs and COOs out there that I'm seeing them emerge. They don't, as far as my experience on my social media platform is strictly is LinkedIn. As far as business, I do family stuff elsewhere,
Yeah.
but they're not really, there's not a lot of CEOs doing anything as far as posting anything, but they're watching.
Yeah.
The ones that I have opportunity to work with, they know how important that I feel this is. I don't hide that. I'm pretty direct with, if this is the outcome you're looking for, I feel like I can deliver that solution, but also we won't get the full potential of the outcome unless it's supported by the executive suite.
Yeah.
Meaning, so I will ask them, if this is where you want to be, if this is the kind of culture that you want to create, what part can you play? What part are you comfortable playing so that you can emulate where you want us to go? And that can look like, an email, once or twice a month, or a little short video, whatever. But in responding to your question, I think, they are more and more open to thinking differently, because they have to be, almost, right? The ones that aren't going to think differently are just not going to survive, or it's going to be so much harder. This isn't anything new. You mentioned the pandemic bringing up kind of new challenges. And from my experience, when I was nursing, these were the exact same things we were dealing with. I left nursing because I was sexually harassed by my nurse manager and nothing happened, because I'd go to work literally physically sick to my stomach,
God.
stressed of,
I
you know,
can
but
imagine that.
also that being said, that now that so this will come full circle, which I'm so honored and grateful to do this, the things that I learned between there and where I'm at now are the skills that, had I had these skills and this awareness back then, maybe I wouldn't have quit. I would have been a I won't say bad language, but I would have been an awesome nurse leader. I wouldn't have just stopped at being a nurse. I would have wanted to be in
Yeah.
leadership. And
Right.
that's what's happening, because these are nurse leaders and those that are trying to raise their hand aren't equipped with the skills. They just can't do their job effectively. So they're not the high performance nurse that we're talking about, and they know they're not. So it's a real drag. Oops, excuse me. We're losing most of the time our best ones. So I hope that answered that, but it does
Yeah.
need to come from top to bottom.
I wanted to chime in a little
Yeah.
bit because I
Good.
think there's so much similarity, though we are in different industries, of course, between what we are both trying to do. I think number one, we're both disruptors in an industry. And I think we are trying to, change culturally, have people think differently, exactly as you said. In my case, this is an industry that was built on fear, and it was also built with all men. And men providing services and or distributing products that are 70% for women doesn't work. It's a disconnect. So I think that, again, what you are trying to do, Angie, which I would also say there's a big similarity, because I don't think most people, and I will take, my personal experience, really understand and appreciate the value and the contribution that nurses make until they are actually put in contact with a nurse and see, when they unfortunately have a situation with a loved one, how vital and how committed and compassionate so many of these nurses are. I mean, I could never do what a nurse does, never. And when my dad was sick, when my mom was sick, I mean, I had such exemplary nurses that supported me, my family, as well as, my loved one. It was so wonderful for me to even get exposed to that from there on in, anytime I meet a nurse, I literally hug them.
That's so
Because I think that they are on the front line, and this was way before COVID. And I just think that they are underappreciated. I just have to say that.
Yeah.
Underappreciated.
Yeah, thanks for saying that, Mary. Yeah, and we do have a lot in common as this disruptors, but also just, sort of fighting for the underdog, or making awareness. It's really just bringing awareness. I mean, that's so much of it, right? But which is what Christine is doing.
Exactly, which is why we need for Christine to keep on doing it, because, the audience grows and grows. It's not an overnight success. I always say it's a marathon, not a sprint. We're in this to win it. And, I think the more people are talking about, aging and compassion and dignity and tools and resources that can all provide that for each other, I mean, all the better. You can't have enough of these types of conversations.
I do too. I totally agree. Totally.
Mara, I was just wondering, did you sorry if I'm being mean to people who are in the top tier.
Yes.
I don't mean to be, but it doesn't matter. It can be in any arena where you've been in the ivory tower so long that you don't really hear what's really going on in the kingdom. Did you come across, this will be really short if your answer is nope. Did you come across anyone who said, but the people who have to wear those things, they're not really aware anymore anyway, so they don't really care what it looks like or how it makes them feel. I don't understand why you have to change something that's already working just well, fine. did you come across anything like that?
Oh my
I'm
God.
thinking that might have been a man that said that, no offense, but if that did happen.
It was first of all, the emergency response industry is controlled by men who have been in their positions and in this industry for years and years. And the industry right now is functioning under the auspices of private equity. Most of the largest firms are owned by private equity companies, which means it's all about revenue. And, how they make their revenue is by, you buy an emergency alert pendant, and then you have to sign up for a monitoring service plan. And that's called recurring revenue. So every month you pay for, this monitoring service plan. And there is very little regard today for what devices look like, because the industry was built on fear. So it's all about providing this device, no matter what it looks like, so that it can curtail your fear. But the truth of the matter is, women 50 and above, this could be situational abuse. This does not have to be like, unfortunately, Angie, you went through a terrible situation with some sexual abuse. You know what? There's a lot of domestic abuse. There's a lot of women who are solo aging today, of course, who want some extra added, safety at particular times. Maybe they're on a date for the first time in 30 years.
Yes.
They're walking their dog alone at night, and it's dark out and it's not safe. It doesn't, again, there are, uses for emergency alert that were for the aging population 80 and above. But there are plenty of uses for emergency alert today for women who just want peace of mind and want, again, not to be stigmatized, but want to wear something that they know is like an extra added safety device if they should need it in an emergency. So again, this is not about fear alone. This is about taking control and, having something that can help you if you so need it. Yeah. So it's a very different mindset than that mindset of help, I can't get up, and it is about women taking control of their own lifestyle, wanting to be independent, wanting to age independently, age at home, and actually just do it their way.
It's empowering. It's so empowering. I just keep thinking of my mom, Mara, that, like I said, she's beautiful and she has a watchy thing or whatever on her watch, right? Yeah. But that's not pretty or whatever. It's sporty. Okay. But if she needed to go somewhere, and it would be about safety. It'd be about security. And also, by the way, it's beautiful. And that makes me feel beautiful. That's dignity. That's beautiful. I love it so much.
100%. And, it's also, we've tried, Trellaware has tried to work with some nursing organizations actually, because as we're all talking here about spreading the word, et cetera, it's all about partnering and collaborating and being, supportive of one another in sharing our stories and in getting the word out. And, we are, I don't know, Angie, if you're a one person, but literally the business is me. Yes, I have a myriad of partners because, one of the things about aging that is so beautiful is what you know, you also know what you don't know. So, I think it is great that, I've been able to network to partners that have really been incredibly supportive, and I'm so grateful. But that being said, it's about me sharing our message with literally any affiliates that make sense for us and can get the word out, because we are friends and family funded, and my husband's my banker, and it's there's only so much we can do. That being said, every single day we try to make a difference. And I'm sure, Angie, every single day you reach out, do something that can benefit your network and share your story and your mission.
Yeah.
Same thing with you, Christine. You're amazing though. Like you're on a whole different level.
Yeah.
You are.
You know what? I'm a toddler at all of this. I was a classroom teacher. I was an in-home caregiver. I was a mom. And then this, I'm going, it's so freeing to be a toddler because you can run around, touch everything, whine when it doesn't do what you want it to, get really excited about something that is really hard to define. Every week people go, so what are we supposed to prepare for? And I'm like, aging. Because that's been my thing is knowing that I'm so lucky that I got to be around these people who were in their 80s, 90s, and 100s constantly. And I feel like, wow, I've got a whole book here, an unwritten book on how to continue living.
Right.
And, thanks to them trusting me. And I'm like, this needs to be shared out. And then I realized there were resources for so many things that were already invented that I wished there was a solution to some of these problems for the caregivers and the nurses, who are, sustaining injuries because of stuff that was designed and sold and didn't really do it, especially for people who are family caregivers that didn't get any training at all. At least I had backup. I did get training, so just all of that. So I'm going to flip something that's just as true and just as pertinent. I've got some men coming on in the next few weeks. In fact, one day is going to be all men again. I haven't had that for a while.
Wow.
And these are compassionate,
awesome,
innovative, break your heart. Their stories about why they are doing what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking about the caregivers and the nurses, because in some perspective, some eyes, we were kind of blended together. I remember when one time someone said, I thought you were a CNA. And I thought, well, I've been kind of doing some, things that certainly CNAs would do. But the men who are nurses, the men who are caregivers, they experience, it's like they know what it's like to be categorized. And I'm just wondering, once again, if the answer is no, this will be a very short part. But Angie, have you had any experiences with, male nurses or nurses who were categorized? I know there's a nurse that I saw on LinkedIn who uses a wheelchair, and it was kind of like that moment of duh. So much that is done in a hospital can be done by a completely capable and trained person who uses a wheelchair to move from one place to another. So much can be checked on or dealt with, or data input, or et cetera. And much more can be done because there's, a lever to make the bed go down. So anyway, categorized or stigmatized people, including men, have you come across any of those situations?
I haven't personally. The male nurses that I have had opportunity to work with are awesome. I mean, they're awesome. Men bring things to the table that, women don't, and vice versa. So it's like, they're going to see things differently. And that's something that we have to understand. Just like, kids, you can't, I had to tell my children that, dad's going to love, his way of loving you is going to look different. So just because it looks different doesn't mean it's not as much or not as good, So I guess the same thing. So the male nurses I've worked with are awesome. But no, I haven't experienced, but learning about, as far as, African American women nurses,
Sure.
the numbers there aren't where we would want them to be. And there's a whole thing we could talk
Yeah.
about that.
Oh, there you
Yes.
go.
I had never heard of uh, handicap nurses. I've never met a person in a wheelchair that's able to give care. So that's amazing.
It
She could,
might have literally been a first.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
it
wonder.
just,
That's really
you
Unbelievable.
know,
I hope you have her on, or he or she on. That'd be really cool.
I think that would be amazing. Yeah.
That'd be
oh,
really
I'd
cool.
have
But
to
no,
look
I
way
don't. I
back to
can't say
find
that
out.
I have. But maybe can segue if this is an interesting question. Um,
Mhm.
and when we're talking about the CEOs and stuff, well, there's a segmented thing. Most of them are men.
Yes.
I'm happy that you're having men on next time or in a few weeks or whatever, because I think that what I am seeing, because I feel and I'm starting to see this shift where the male executives are really good ones coming up to the top, right? Where we're seeing talking on LinkedIn, at least I am, about the things that traditionally they haven't talked about.
Yeah.
Because yes, I believe we have two basic emotions, fear and love, right? So the
Mhm.
men have been so steeped into the money part, which is important. We have to do it. It is a business. If we
Yes.
can't run the business effectively, then we can't have people come in. We can't take care of the people. So I 100% have great respect for that position, and have no idea what it would take to do that. Some idea, but wow, So with
Yeah.
respect, I approach to those folks to say, I'm inviting you to, and it's almost like giving permission. I feel like those of us that are trying to get our message out, or disruptors, if you want to call, are like giving people permission to think outside the box, to think differently. I say that not because I'm this cool person that's giving you permission, but because people did that for me. And
Yeah.
that's how I look at it, is, oh, this person spoke this into my life, which really gave
Mhm.
me the permission or the go ahead that I guess I needed
Yeah.
to be open to thinking differently. And from there, my life has changed, and it's been a series of all those things. So
Yeah.
that's what my messaging is to those decision makers: is, dude, we know, dude and dudettes, we know that this is a crazy, bureaucratic, like way big pressure job, but we can together co-create and collaborate a way to do both things to get you where you want to go. We can't do it the old way anymore. It's not effective. I
Yeah.
don't know if that made sense. It wasn't
Mhm.
really a question. It was both questions and comments, but
But the fact of the matter is that hospitals are a business. And
yes.
it has been incredibly well documented, unfortunately, that nurses are leaving their fields and their positions, by the droves.
Mhm.
So if I was, and I've been a, corporate executive, I would look to somebody like Angie and, what you are trying to accomplish
Mhm.
in terms of education and support. And I would reach out and try anything that I could to maintain the best of the best, and even the ones who have so much potential on my
Mhm.
nursing staff,
Yep.
give them the tools and resources they need to do their job as best possible.
Yeah.
I always, again, have, I believe, in all the teams I've run, my job as the leader of the team is to make their job easiest to do, to give them the tools, the resources, the knowledge they can to do their job so that they're successful, which means that I
Yes.
will then be successful.
Yeah.
And
So,
they know that you're paving the path for them.
yes.
They know that you're not sitting there going, I'm going to find the one thing you do wrong today.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
It's so not about that.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
definitely not about that. So that being
Mm.
said, I think the other thing that's happening in the nursing business, which again, I've just peripherally been exposed to, is concierge medicine, concierge doctors, concierge nurses, etc. So I would was just do any of those organizations or that channel, do they ever reach out to you for some tools, resource, knowledge, etc.?
Yeah, I'm having a lot of conversations with those folks and what they're trying to do, and they're on the right track because it is about the experience. We've gone through so many different stages of nursing, science and all the cool stuff that we've gone through. We've really just gotten so far away from the holistic space that we began nursing for. It's so focused on so many. We'll never keep up with technology. That's just something we'll never get ahead of that. That will always, but we can create the experience like you're talking about, Mira. And that's what this is all about. So yeah, thank you for asking. I'm having conversations, and people, like I'm saying, that shift is happening. Um, and it's what the patient is demanding. The clients are demanding the experience because they have information that we didn't used to have. And so this paradigm shift has been happening, like the pendulum was way over here before, and now it's swung way over here. And what we're trying to do is get it here. The patients can get online, they can see all kinds of things, and for their money, they want to be treated with the dignity, to Mara, that you've talked
Absolutely.
about, with the respect, with um, just simple skills that seem simple: empathy, compassion, knowing how to have a conversation, knowing how to build trust, all those things. That's what they really want. And so from the very first touch point, it has to happen. From walking in to an organization, that person at the desk, she matters. She's huge, or he or she
100%.
is huge. How they're greeting someone. So yeah, that the whole experience thing is where we're headed, and we should be. It's scary, and I don't want to go into fear based, but there is a little bit of a fire that needs to be put under all of our butts. Going, nobody's hearing. We're in this space. All of us are in this space of the aging. Caring for, contributing in some way to this space, right? But outside of this space, y'all, I don't. People don't understand that this is extraordinarily relevant to every single person on the planet. If we do not solve this problem, there is going to be no one to take care of my mom.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
I don't want her to ever go into extended care or assisted living or whatever. I want to take care
Let
of her, but
alone
that's
us.
the reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So
100%.
many people, and I
Oh
can
my
tell you
goodness.
horror stories from nurses that are just trying to make it through a day, and it's just things are missed, things are done incorrectly, they're done, and not because these people aren't, competent, or that they're not wanting to. It's just that there's just not enough of them.
Yeah.
And if
Mm.
there's not enough of them, then we can't take care of them. So anyway, I go on a tangent that way, but
Yeah.
it's about the
Angie,
experience.
oh, sorry. It's
No,
about, you said it's about the,
well, back to what Mira was saying, the
mm,
experience, that's what
mhm.
CEOs, I hope, are looking at. And so nursing they are the front lines of the experience.
Mm. I think of Carl Sean Watkins. His premise is vulnerability in leadership.
Yeah.
And so if there was going to be a person that, and I might do it anyway, that I was going to introduce to you on like a group thing, LinkedIn, just to see if he could speak the language of the leadership. When two leadership people that he so admires came into his franchise one day, a number of years ago, and he explained to them his whole idea of vulnerability leadership, and he's got a better way of saying it than I do. There was Here's a person looking at him going, you got something, you understand something that exists, but it needs to be taught, it
Yeah.
needs to have bullet points, it needs to be up on a screen, for someone to go, oh, so you're saying that the people who I have authority over that react and respond and eventually leave, if I had come from this standpoint,
Right.
just made a change in my wording, in my whatever body language,
Yes.
in my you first, tell me about what's going on. I want to hear you, and I'll respond to you,
Yeah.
person who's under me. It's like, then I would have retained my good workers. And then for you, Mara, I think of two people that I just introduced to each other, and one is Fran Goldberg. Are you already familiar with
No,
her?
I don't know who she is.
So she does Dignity pajamas.
Cool.
Oh,
And
I love
it's
that.
and it helps the nurse caregiver. So Angie, not out of your wheelhouse at
Right,
all.
right.
And I introduced her to Maxwell Cohen, who's got the peel away bed sheets. So it's literally disposable. When he was on the screen, I kept going like that, just like, yep, it goes away. And that just saves. I mean, both of them are about dignity. Both of them, their designs are about not having to move a person so much when they're recovering from something, or are always there. And so he's got like 5 layers and how they're specially made, and, skin health. And I'm just like, so Fran Goldberg, Maxwell Cohen, and Carl Sean Watkins, just people who may go, ding, I've got something that I can contribute in that way, So enjoy them. I love putting that out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're making me think, and I'm so grateful that I've gotten to know these people, some of them through my husband, who's making this possible.
Yes,
He's
thank
the
you.
one that watches for somebody who's entering at a different time, because life happens. And that's really what I want this time. All these replays are archived at Aging Better Network under live stream video. All of these groups, I do have one where there's only me and one other person, but I was doing that for special. He makes it possible, and he has introduced me to so many people because he's been doing this sort of thing for 10 years with marketing and coaching and being a trusted advisor. And for me, it was like, nah, I just want to be in a room with a person.
Yeah.
But here we are. I have forgotten. I mean, I know that you're in a different state and that I could yell as loud as I want to, but you couldn't hear me. But it was his idea that my concepts, which is I call pre-act your age, and that is just to know about general aging issues, challenges, and even positives that, if only I had known that a while back, if only I had known that there are resources and that there are places where you can look up resources. So here I'm meeting all these people who are going, I'm putting together a website too. People need to know this stuff exists. I'm going, I was doing this people stuff for 8 years and in nearly 100 different homes. And I was like, I wish I could take this thing apart and put it together in a way so I could truly serve a person, not cause them more pain, restore their humanity and their dignity, and treat them like me with equity. The best I could say as a female coming in to a situation where someone was not enjoying the invasion, is just go, you would do the same for me. Now that we've gotten to know each other a little bit, I know that if I was the one that needed to have some personal care, that you would do great with me. And then we would go on to the stuff that we really like, playing solitaire on the screen, or, doing the crossword puzzle, or just taking a walk and watching the buds coming out on trees. That I thought, I wish I could offer them more and their families more information. And now I'm getting to do that because my husband said, you've got to do this farther than your voice can reach. And so,
big impact.
and people like you have been courageous to come on and just go, all righty, we'll see what happens here. I really appreciate that you both have have shared, personal stories today. Before I go off on a tangent myself, that is so easy for me to do. Mara, let's start with you, and then Angie. Tell
Okay.
people where they can find you again and contact you
Yes.
again.
Thank you.
And I'll, when I post this out on my, my favorite is LinkedIn. When I post this out, I will just invite you to put in a comment and put in the same information that you're about to say. But someone might be getting something else done. They're either caring for their loved one, or they're
Yes.
getting chores done, or you are their background music for maybe some content that they're creating or an engine that they are repairing. And so how would they get a hold of you, Mara?
So we are available. All our products, our collection is available at www.trellaware.com. And I want to just say that Trella is alert spelled backwards, and that's how we formed
cool.
the brand of the company. And
I love that.
we that's where we sell direct to consumer. And I'm happy, and I will put this, if there's any referrals, etc., we do offer a friends and family discount, because the whole thing is we want to make this experience, and we want to share the opportunity to wear our devices. And again, it doesn't have to be 24/7. You do need to sign up for a monitoring service plan once you purchase the pendant. It is done all through an app. My app partner is called Detect, and it's all the information is available, how it works, etc. We also make it very, very, very reasonable, inexpensive, on a monthly basis, much less expensive than those traditional emergency alert providers. Because again, it's about having people, have access to it, to use it, to feel good about using it, etc. Part of our business is the direct to consumer part. Part of our business is also, we do make devices for some of the largest companies out there. Some of the senior executives who have been enlightened that they are missing out on an opportunity to serve women. And one of the largest reasons or that people cancel their traditional service, it's called refuse to use, because people just keep the device in their drawer. We all have heard that story. And so there are some companies out there that have reached out to us for our secret sauce, which is design. And, we have made devices for companies in the US as well as overseas. So, it's anything that we can do. We're here to help. We're here to answer questions. It can seem very daunting at first, but it's really pretty easy. And most of the time, and again, this isn't an opportunity for everybody, but a lot of times we do market to the adult female child, who many times is, the decision maker as to, whether their loved one wears something or not. Yeah. So, we speak to them all the time, and we try to provide, one-on-one, communication. If anybody's having a problem, there are videos, etc., how to set things up. But if not, you just get on the phone and we answer, So that's it. Trellaware.com.
That's awesome.
Now I know how many L's are in it, because it's alert backwards.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Backwards.
Easy to remember.
That's cool.
Thank you.
I really am so excited to hear about this today. I will never, now I know, like you were saying, Christine, now I know there are other options.
Yes.
For me in 20 years or so. Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
I think that that's the whole key. There are a lot of entrepreneurs out there creating a lot of cool things to help with aging at home, etc., in particular. And, again, a lot of them, are bootstrapped, and anything that we can do, all of us, to get the word out there that there are options.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. Again, nobody knows until you are forced to know and forced to do the research
Yeah.
about this whole world that exists in aging.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it can seem very overwhelming at first. God knows. It's like, where do you turn first?
Yeah.
And I do feel like there is a growing awareness that there is a serious shortage of caretakers in America. And we all are going to have to work together to provide solutions for caring for our loved one and our aging population.
Mm-hmm.
So anything we can all do to help is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yay.
And Christine, that's huge that you have these recordings so people can access, and the more people get aware, you are a great resource for folks that are daughters, like Mara was saying, that need to figure out, hey, what is Christine and what do they have to offer? Let me see if and do those categories that are in your catalog of recordings, do they give a description about? That's probably hard, right? Because we talked about so many different things. Right?
Yeah, that would be a virtual assistant.
Yeah.
Many hours a day.
Yeah.
And I may get to that point. That is the goal.
Yeah.
To have somebody go through, pick out all the information and have that next to it. And it's been asked for. Someone said, it's interesting to listen to things, but I want to know what is going to be there before I go in, which is just good.
Yeah.
That's just good journalism. Tell them what they're going to hear, then tell them what you want them to hear, and then finish by telling them what they just heard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And just for a resource. So going to your catalog of recordings and be able to look for, I'm interested in an alert thing from my mom. Oh, Mira's on there. Oh, cool. Clicking on that. But, well, I'll tell you where you can find me. I'm just going to make it super simple. My email address is angiegraywellness.com, but really it's just simplest to go to LinkedIn and find me, Angie Gray Wellness. This face will be on there somewhere. And my website. And, I always encourage people to stalk me, like go on LinkedIn, see what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Look at my Facebook, my real life Facebook, my family, so you can get to know who I am. On Facebook, general Facebook, I'm Angela Gray. You'll see all about me. Instagram, it's Angie Gray Wellness. So, but really, I think that's the easiest. And then start a conversation with me in LinkedIn, and we can have, conversation. That's the way I like to do it. Just tell me what you're interested in, and let's see if we're a good fit. Yeah, it's pretty simple.
I was just listening to a gal in Richmond, Virginia, Charvette Mitchell, and she was saying that your personal life or your personal, personal public life and your business public life really should match up. That you're not just, this is what I do for a job, but once I get out of that job, boy, I'm this way. They really should match up, especially if you're branding as an individual. And you both have emotional stories coming into it and triumphs that have brought you to this point, and a person who could use a little triumph and wants to be understood knows that they can come to either of you. So Angie Gray Wellness and Trella Wear, WEAR, Trella Wear, alert backwards. Oh, Mara, Angie, thank you so much. I keep moving this around because the sun came out, and I know it just kind of turns white, and I'm just like, the sun, and it's just like, I'm glowing. It's like when I put it back here, it's like, I don't know if that's different looking, but I just kept playing with my camera, trying to be less distracting. But I think I got the opposite.
You were good.
You were great. Oh my God. It's so nice getting to know both of you. I mean,
I feel the same. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Christine. Yeah. Thanks for coming on and talking about
really great.
You know what we can do virtually? What we can do virtually to just sign off. I've never done this. I'm going to give it a try. So you got your hand ready. We're going to do a virtual 3-way high five, and we won't miss. 1, 2, 3. Thanks so much, ladies.
High
High
five.
five.
That was
Thank
great.